Hello, Facebook. I'm doing the double I thing here because I've got Facebook here and I've got Instagram there. I hope you guys are doing well. Paul Silva here. I am going to be talking about intuition. So if you're on here and if you can tell me if you can hear me, if not, that's okay. We'll just feel it. We're talking about intuition anyway. I'm just going to dive into it. If there's any questions, just drop them in. It's kind of, intuition. It's, you've done, you know that feeling when you think you should have said or done something and you've gone against it and then you suffered for it later and thinking, oh, I should have done that thing. Well, that's your intuition. That was your intuition screaming at you to do that thing that you were supposed to do. And, it's intuition, there's many definitions of it, but it's like that little bird that's chirping. It's that tug at your kind of spirit and soul. It's kind of like, some people call it a sixth sense, but it can also be seen as a mental faculty, something like memory or will, something that can be developed. Some people, it looks like that they are bathed in intuition, especially people who, like the light workers and people as psychics and stuff like that. But we all have intuition. We all have intuition, and it's just something that we can develop. It's something that we can build up, just like anything else, like our memory, improving our memory. That's something that we can do. And it's just a tool in many ways. Intuition is kind of that knowing without actually knowing, without having any necessary evidence in front of you. It's, some scientists actually say, like Einstein, actually, they are proponents that intuition is based on past recognition. So we're maybe like seeing a pattern or just something about our past that we see maybe in this moment. And so it's intuition too is, I look at it also as, it's one of the voices. We all have these voices in our heads, and there's fear and worry, anxiety, doubt, and all that. And intuition is in there. It's a very quiet voice, but it's almost like an antidote to fear in many ways. And some people will say that it's God directed, which I think, well, atheists can have intuition too, and they do. So it's really, a subconscious assessment of what's going on in the present. Intuition is always about the present, and we'll be talking about that. And it's also about tapping into the whole mind, body, spirit thing that we talk about a lot. And I'll talk about the physical part, but definitely intuition does tap into mind and the mental faculty, like I was talking about, but also into the spirit. And I think personally, I find that it's the three of them combined, that mind, body, spirit. So like I said, it's kind of a knowing without knowing. And it's one of the questions I get a lot is like, how do you know? How do you know the difference between intuition, that intuitive voice, and something like fear? And so there's a couple ways. I'm going to go through a couple, but there's a great book if you ever want to get really into it. It's a Still Small Voice. So I can see in IG, you can see it there. It's Still Small Voice by Echo Bodine, A Psychic's Guide to Awakening Intuition. So this is a great read. I've gone through this before, and it does have some great examples, and it really expands like intuition in your business, intuition in your personal life, relationships, all that. But the question again is, how do I know what's intuition, what's fear? So here's like 5 ways you can tell. The first one is that if you're not sure if that voice is intuition or fear, is there any emotion attached to it? If there's any emotion, especially something like judgment, and definitely fear and worry, doubt, anxiety, they'll come with judgment. Like, you shouldn't do that. What would they think? And that's judgment. Intuition has almost like a business-like voice. It's neutral. It's calm. And so that's the intuitive voice. Another one is, I mentioned, intuition is about the present. Fear talks about the past or the future. And so if you're just getting something where it's just grounding, it's just right now, then that is intuition. Intuition is more about, fear will take into psychological consideration. So maybe past traumas and all that, whereas intuition avoids all that. So it's not going to tap into like what happened in the past, any assumptions or interpretations that we've had, anything that's happened to us. Intuition doesn't take any of that into consideration. Intuition feels expansive, right? And we feel that more in our stomach, which is why we call it gut feeling. Whereas fear is constrictive, and we feel it more in our chest. So, as in the book, she says, calls it a still small voice, and that's what it is. A lot of times it's about tuning out all the other stuff and really listening to that little voice. And it can be, and sometimes it's not necessarily something that's said, but it could be something that we feel, and it could be an image. And so that also can be the intuitive voice as well. Just want to say Annette is here. Hi, Annette. Rose, Michelle, Bethany, and we've got Devora on the IG. Patience, Jean. How are you? So thank you guys for being here. Another voice that comes up is logic. So we have that intuitive hit, like we're like, and then like right on its heels is logic. And logic will try to tear down whatever it is, that intuitive hit that you got. It's kind of like, when you hear these stories of, let's say the subway, someone falls into the tracks and these people just jump in without thinking. But that's because we're built, our emotional mind, our intuitive mind reacts first before logic. So that's why people jump in and we're like, what were they thinking? But they weren't thinking with that part of their brain yet. That catches up after. And so in many ways, that's what happens with us. We have that intuitive hit, and then right on its heels, we start thinking of ways why that whatever that answer is wrong. Oh, no one's going to go for that. Oh, what do you think that? Oh, you're nuts. What's going on? No, that's not going to work. Remember last time we did all that stuff? That's logic. Now, logic is important, and logic can be integrated into intuition. We can come up with the intuitive hits, and certainly we can examine it, but we can use both. There's room for both of those kinds of the minds in our day-to-day. And another one too is yeah, but. That's what Echo talks about, the yeah, but voice. Yeah, but what about, and that's kind of, again, that's fear, that's logic. It's all of those trying to like catch up and trying to keep us safe, because our intuitive hits sometimes they're going to take us out of our comfort, or, because we don't know what the future holds. But there's an inner knowing that we have, that when we listen to it, because intuition is never wrong. When we listen to it, sometimes we just have to accept, and sometimes we just have to like allow that intuitive voice to come out and to drive us in some ways. So I'm going to go through some ways to develop your intuition. If you have any comments or questions, just drop them in. This is something that I created, a document from one of my podcasts, Longing for the Spirit. So it's 10 ways to develop your intuition. So if you want a copy of that after, I have it. You can just drop me a message and I will send it to you. You can maybe give me an email address and I'll send it to you. So I'm just going to kind of go through these quickly. And so these are ways that you can develop your intuition, because like I said, we all have it. We all do. And if you don't think you have it, it's because you're not paying attention. Okay, so one is meditation. It's that's like, personally, that's where I hear all of that. That voice is the strongest, is when I meditate. So it's really about allowing those other voices to go away and to really focus. It's like an antenna cutting through the white noise and getting to that frequency. And for me, that is how I build that intuitive voice. Another one is paying attention to your dreams. And so sometimes we allow, when we're sleeping in dreams, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about dreams, but the subconscious is out there working, and it's really about overriding the sort of right side of our brain. And so when we pay attention to our dreams, a lot of times that's where our intuitive voice comes out. There's something that may come up, an image or a visual or something that's said in the dream that really connects with us, and that could be our intuitive voice. And so if there's something that really stands out in your dream, kind of pay attention to it, write it down. It might come to you later, but there is something about that. Another one is being creative. So if anything, art, drawing, dance, whatever it is that floats your boat, it's a way for intuition to breathe. It's a place for to quiet the logical mind and to allow that space for the intuitive hits to start coming. Another cool thing is to test your hunches. Actually, I mentioned this to someone on Facebook today, on Twitter actually. I can't keep up. So it was testing your hunches. So a lot of us don't trust our intuition, or we don't know how to trust it. And so start with little things, right? Like if you say, should I bring my umbrella or not? Should I do this or not? Just little things. And go with what your intuition goes, and then just go with it and see, and just test your hunches, and then later see if you're right. And you will find that you are right. And the more you practice that, the more you kind of flex that muscle, the more you're going to use it in other parts. Because intuition's, a lot of business people use intuition. Like a lot of the successful business people use their intuition on top of like spreadsheets and all that. It's more information. It's just other information. You can use it in relationships. You can use it in your financial stuff. All of that stuff. Intuition is not just, little woo-woo stuff that you figure out for the day. It can impact all parts of your life. And like I said, another part is checking in with your body. When we're really tapped into intuition, our body's more relaxed. We're more at ease. When we're going with our intuition, there's a lightness to our body. Are we feeling good? Are we feeling, when we go with fear a lot, fear and anxiety, it feels like I said, it's tightening. But we can also get sick a lot. If we're constantly going with fear, if we're living fear-based, if we're doing fear-based decisions, working on fear-based decisions, that is stress and cortisol and all that. If you're going more with your intuitive side, physically, again, this mind, body, spirit thing, you're going to find yourself less sick. You're going to find yourself more at ease, more in line with yourself. So again, it's also checking in physically. Do you feel kind of gross about the decision you made? Or do you feel like, yeah, I don't understand it, but this feels good. And so that's your intuition. Getting away in terms of nature, especially nature, nothing like a hike or a walk. Again, it's sort of connecting, regrounding. And that's where the intuitive voice can really expand and open up is going in nature. In the same vein, breaking out of a routine, right? Dodging left instead of going right. Getting out of what you normally do, taking a break, doing something outside of the norm, that can break that routine that we have, and that can open up again, that part of us, that part of our mind, body, spirit, that can tap into, like, that's where ideas come. What I'm saying? Like when you're in flow, part of that is intuition. Like that is, you're allowing yourself to be pulled intuitively. And that's where also great ideas and all that mesh together. Intuition is fabulous for, if you're stuck on something. That's the biggest. When you're stuck and you just don't know what to do, sometimes it's good just to put all the, pro con, charts away and all that kind of stuff, and just really sit with your intuition. That's where it could be sitting, going out for a quick hike and all that. And that's where you can allow that to breathe. And again, feeling. Don't think we have 50 to 80,000 thoughts a day. A lot of them are repetitive, and a lot of them have to do with the past, or, worry about the future, anxiety about the future. So when we can sit in the present and kind of not think as much and just sit, what is it that I'm feeling at this moment? And putting logic aside, it's like, what am I feeling? And you can get a lot of relief. You can get a lot of insight in there. And again, that's sort of flexing that intuitive muscle. Engaging in repetitive motions or movement. So yoga with poses, it could be running. See, someone like me who's a runner, I get a lot of my intuitive hits while I'm out there. I call it a moving meditation. And so it's really about something repetitive, washing dishes, something like that. And you find that, once you do something repetitive, when I'm a chef, I was a chef. And if we had to peel like 200 pounds of potatoes or something, my coworkers and I would joke, we'd hit the Zen, because your subconscious has taken over, and you're just doing the same thing over and over. And it just releases your mind. You're not thinking about it anymore. It's like when you take a shower or brush your teeth, you're not thinking about, okay, now I am turning on the water. Now I'm letting water. No, you're just doing it. It's so repetitive that it gives you space for, that's why you have all those shower thoughts, right? You have all those, like, I had this great thought in the shower, and people like dripping wet trying to write stuff down and stuff. So It's allowing that space. We have to cut ourselves some slack in our crazy day and give ourselves some space to allow ourselves just to feel and to think and to have that download that we get, that we miss when we're so busy and just, you know, active. And then, you know, again, it's also testing yourselves, like how, when we see someone, when we meet someone, we can get an energy, right? We can feel it. And sometimes we walk into a room, go, ooh, something just happened here. Or we meet someone, go, ooh, there's something about them. Or maybe there's something, you know, elated, they've had some news, but you know there's something going on with them, but you don't know. And we can test ourselves, just how we did testing our hunches. And, you know, think of what the first impression that you have from that person. And then as you start to talk to them and find out, you'll find that all the time, that first impression you had was correct. And so that's another way just to test it, to prove to yourself, especially if you feel that your intuitive voice is very mute and not very loud. Do this to open up and to expand and see how that works for you. So those are some ways that you can develop your intuition. I have, like I said, I have a document because I did this for a podcast, one of my podcasts. So it's develop 10 ways to develop your intuition. If you want that, let me know. Send me a message, and I can, in Facebook, I can probably send it direct. If not, just send me an email and I'll send it to you there. So Adam, thank you for being here. Alex, Wayne, Christina, Jen, thank you for being here. So if there's no questions, I'm going to leave it at that. This was a kind of a short one, a lot of information. Just really allow yourself to feel your intuitive voice. It's amazing when you can let yourself get away and step away from fear, worry, doubt, logic, all those kind of things. What comes, and all the time, those intuitive hits, it just propels you. It just gets you into a place that feels good. Whatever action it is that you do, even if you don't understand it, go with it. Trust yourself, trust spirit, trust source, trust your mind, trust your body, that it has the answer that you need. We overthink, and this is a great antidote to overthinking. Okay, guys, if you are watching replay, just do the old hashtag replay, so I know you've caught it second time around. Thank you guys for being here. Instagram, Facebook. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of the day. Take care. Ciao.